There's a mystery in Canada that has left many unanswered questions. For years, Indigenous women have been disappearing and turning up dead, and no one seems to know why. The Canadian government has done little to investigate these cases, and the police seem powerless to solve them. Now, there's a new wave of fear sweeping through the Indigenous community. More women are going missing, and no one knows who's responsible or what's happening to them. The families of the missing women are desperate for answers, but they're not getting any help from the authorities. They're searching for answers on their own, but it's a dangerous task. The Indigenous in Canada have a long history of being abused by the Canadian government. For example, in the 1800s, the government forcibly removed Indigenous children from their homes and sent them to residential schools where they were often abused. And in recent years, there have been several high-profile cases of police brutality against the Indigenous people. So it's no wonder that the Aboriginal community is distrustful of the authorities. They're afraid that if they speak out, they'll be ignored or even harmed. But they can't stay silent forever. Something needs to be done about the missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada. Otherwise, more families will be left devastated by these tragedies. In this video, we're going to go over a few theories of what's really going on in Canada. The Canadian government is behind the disappearances. They're using the Indigenous women for their own purposes, and they don't want anyone to know about it. Colonialism in Canada isn't just a thing of the past. The government is still abusing its power, and Indigenous people are still suffering. Why this might be the reason for the missing women is that Indigenous reserves are often secluded and not many people live there or know about what's going on. This makes it a perfect place for the government to do whatever they want without anyone knowing. By slowly removing the Indigenous population, the government can control the resources on these reserves and use them for their own gain. They also will no longer have to deal with the Indigenous people's demand for equality and recognition. The second reason behind the disappearances could even be more sinister. The government or criminal organizations could be selling the women to human traffickers or organ harvesters. This would be a very lucrative business, and it would explain why so many women have gone missing. It would also explain why the government is not doing more to help find these women. They could be complicit in the disappearances or simply turning a blind eye to what's really going on. The third reason is that there's possibly a serial killer or a group of killers targeting Indigenous women. Discrimination and violence against Indigenous women are unfortunately very common, and it's not unlikely that someone would want to target them specifically. This would explain why the women are being targeted, but it doesn't explain why the government isn't doing more to help find them. The fourth reason, the disappearances are part of a government experiment. The government could be testing out new methods of population control or mind control on women. They could be doing this without the women's consent or knowledge, which would explain why they're being taken against their will. The fifth reason may be a little more skeptical, but still a possibility, and that there's an otherworldly force behind the disappearances. Some believe that aliens and other beings are responsible for the disappearances. This would explain the women that are missing, but it wouldn't explain why some are found dead. If aliens were to abduct humans, they would most likely take them all or kill them. So this theory doesn't explain everything that's happening. The sixth reason, the Wendigo exist. The Wendigo is a mystical creature that is said to inhabit the forests of Canada. Some believe that this creature is behind the disappearances, as it's said to feast on human flesh. Whether you believe in the Wendigo or not, there is no denying that something is preying on the people in this small town. The story of the Wendigo is a cautionary tale warning us of the dangers of greed and gluttony. It is popular amongst the Indigenous community as it is a reminder of their culture and their heritage. Perhaps the Wendigo serves as a symbol of worship for a cult that is responsible for the disappearances. Murder and cannibalism may be a necessary chore as the reserves are found in remote places without infrastructure and access to food. Cannibalism may also be a way to pass on the Wendigo's curse, as the creature is said to be able to possess those who consume its flesh. This would explain why some of the women are found dead, as they would be consumed by the cult. Or maybe the Wendigo is an undiscovered species that is responsible for the disappearances. This would explain why the women are being taken, as it could be used for food or breeding. Either way, the Wendigo is a part of the folklore of this town, and its presence adds an element of fear to the already frightening situation. Number 7. The other creatures such as the Wahili monster could be responsible. The Wahili is a giant wolf-like creature that is said to inhabit the Canadian tundra. This creature is said to be able to take down a full-grown moose, so it's not impossible that it could be responsible for the disappearances. The Wahili could be feeding on the women, or it could be taking them for some other purpose. This creature is also said to be able to transform into a human, which would explain how it's able to lure the women away without being seen. We may never know the true reason for the indigenous disappearances and why only women from these communities are being targeted. There are so many theories, but no one knows for sure what is happening. The only thing we can do is be vigilant and keep a close eye on our loved ones. If someone you know goes missing, don't give up hope and continue looking for them. The women of these communities are strong and resilient, and they will not be forgotten. Make sure to share this video and spread awareness of the disappearances to help find these missing women. If you have any idea of what might be happening, feel free to leave a comment below, and thank you for watching our video.
Was 15 years old when she disappeared on June 13th in 1974. Her body was found on April 6th, 1975. Her murder is still unsolved. Alberta Williams was 24 years old when she disappeared out of Prince Rupert on August 26th, 1989. Her body was found 37 kilometers west of